Miss Martin Muses. Welcome to Miss Martin Muses, where we muse upon what makes me laugh, makes me cry, makes me happy, makes me sad, or just really ticks me off. Today we're talking about something that makes me creeped out. I guess it makes me happy, makes me sad, or just really ticks me off. Well, you know what? It really ticks me off. Sociopaths actually tick me off. Narcissists are annoying. Psychopaths are, oh my gosh, call the cops. Sociopaths are really just terrible, terrible people. Well, hello there, Zax. Hello. Thank you for being here. Welcome to Miss Martin Muses, where we are going to be talking about sociopaths. Thank I love your little reindeer and Santa hat on your little mask. That's excellent. Hello, Chrysanth. Great to see you. We love our flowers here at Miss Martin Muses. Yes, we are talking about sociopaths. I know a lot of sociopaths. It occurred to me while I was preparing for this stream that I'm giving away some of my secrets. Just because you might see me do some of these coping methods with you, that doesn't mean I think you're a sociopath. It was like the time I said you could walk away without causing a fight by pulling the old, oh, my mom is texting me. And then so help me, my sister texted me about 20 minutes later, and I had to leave the stream for that. I kept saying, I swear to you, that wasn't the tactic. That was not the tactic I was using. Lady Toriel, yay, we love Lady Toriel here. We have an elf in the house. We have an elf in the house. And Zach says, that's a nice hat on you, Rose. Why, thank you. I decided since everyone's getting festive, I may as well decorate too. Get me some Santa action. This is probably the extent of my photoshopping abilities. I need to work a little more on that. Everyone's saying hello to each other. Yes, sociopaths. The way this works is I make myself a cup of coffee. When the coffee's over, generally the stream is over. Today, the coffee is from Starbucks, peppermint mocha flavored coffee. It's different. I wasn't sure about it, but I like to try different flavors. It makes life adventuresome. So this could actually taste quite horrid. Let me see. Oh, it's not bad. Actually, it more tastes almost like a hot chocolate with a little bit of coffee. This is good. This is good. But you wouldn't want to drink a lot of it. I think it would be a little too much. But that is what I am drinking with my coffee cup. And as always, this is also an open discussion. Anything you would like to discuss or muse upon, you may bring it up. I do, though, hold the right to have veto power. Chrisant says, no fan of Starbucks. Too expensive and always too sweet. Plus, I don't like coffee. Well, that'll do it. Of all the things at Starbucks that I like, coffee is the least of them. I will frequently get their protein box. It's a good way to have a nice healthy lunch at the ready. You have some cheeses, some grapes, and crackers. I also, oh my goodness gracious. Oh, my alarm just went off, but for the saddest reasons possible, for the saddest story you'll ever hear. I was on the wait list for Pilates and I didn't get booked in. But that alarm was telling me it's time to go to Pilates. It makes me sad. I love my Pilates, but I will recover. I am definitely booked into my next class. It gets busy. It gets busy and you need to make sure to book ahead of time. I did my best. It didn't work out. So the other thing I get at Starbucks is their iced brew. Must admit, I'm a sucker for it. Probably overpriced, just like everything, but every now and then I will treat myself. It is Shield Wall of Dragon saying, what's up, everybody? Well, what's up? Thank you for being here. We're here to talk about sociopaths. So if you are a sociopath, you're about to get exposed. And now everyone will know exactly what you are doing. And it's also open. Open topic, that's why I put this down here, though I do have veto power. I don't like to get into controversial things or things that are a little too crude. I know sometimes, especially on our book stream, things can get a little bit racy, but that's a niche situation. In general, I like to keep it clean. Let's keep this safe for work for the most part. Unless your boss is a sociopath, then your boss will not like what we are about to discuss. I'd also like to throw to the chat, have you had experience with sociopaths you want to share? In generalized terms, please don't name anybody. I don't want any sociopaths cyber stalking me. Shieldwell Dragon says Starbucks is way too sugary. That's what Kristen Sand said. Yes, it can be. I like to order with my app where you can customize some of those, even their sweet drinks, to lay that off a little bit. In general, I go by Starbucks because it's on the way back from Pilates, as I've always said, for their protein box, which is a nice way to get a quick, healthy lunch. But I've been caretaking, as I've mentioned here. One of the comforts that I've been doing is bringing Starbucks to the whole family, to everybody. So I send out a text, the kids at school, everything. You want me to bring you something from Starbucks? Because sometimes you can feel so helpless, especially when it's a very serious illness. You can't do anything to make it better. You can't. It's a very helpless feeling. But you can bring Starbucks or some other treats, even just not for the sick person, but again, for the kids involved. So that's another reason why I will go to Starbucks frequently. Shieldwell Dragon says, can you define what a sociopath is unless you already did that? Oh, no, you have not missed it. I have a slideshow presentation. The educator in me is coming out. I finally figured out how to make my slideshows go onto the sharing thingamajiggy-mahiggy here. So yay, me. I can really go to town, and I've been starting to do that. Takes a little bit of time. It's happening, though. It's happening. So let me see. One more comment before I go there. Starbucks Japan is so much better. Oh, I'll bet it is. I'll bet it is. I do get really sad when I see Starbucks in foreign countries. Like I was in Paris once with a friend, and oh my gosh, he was like, "Can we quit getting this cafe stuff? I just feel like a Starbucks." And I'm like, "Oh, the horror, the absolute horror." He was also European. You have the best coffee on the planet, the best cream on the planet, and the person wanted to go to Starbucks. So I sucked it up. I sucked it up and went to Starbucks once because it's all about compromise. All about compromise. Lady Toil says, do you think people have become too self-involved? Oh, precisely. Yes, absolutely. In the narcissist one, I talked about that because there's 3 degrees of weirdos. There's the narcissists. Those are the ones that we are absolutely most familiar with. They are the ones that are too self-involved. I believe that we have a crisis of narcissism right now. It's everywhere, you can see it, and I think social media has fostered it. I don't know if that it's the fact that we've always been narcissists, and we didn't know it. Social media shone a light on it. It gave narcissists a path to feeding that narcissism, or if it's always been there. Yep, Zach says, "Tons of work-related sociopaths and psychopaths for me." Yes. I have had maybe 2 situations that it has been psychopath. Psychopaths are the ones have absolutely nothing to do with, get out of there. Get out of Dodge. They will hurt you literally with your job or your money or your family. In the worst case scenario, they will hurt you I always tell people, be really careful how you interact online. You do not know what this person's delusions are. It's a miracle, I think, knock on wood, because I don't want this to happen, that there haven't been more situations of genuine harm being sought to people, and even to the point where their lives are in danger. We've seen it a little bit with the swattings. A very famous situation is what happened to Jeremy from The Quartering. He got physically assaulted in a pub in Indiana. And yes, I've worked probably for, I said it, wait, I already said it too. So psychopaths, a lot of sociopaths, though. A lot of sociopaths. Also, a lot of sociopaths you'll find online, but I won't even go close to mentioning any of those names. No way. No way. Shieldwall Dragon says there is no way they were Italian person saying they wanted Starbucks. No, it was not Italian. I will give it away and say he was English, which is also a special kind of hell and horror for me. They should know better. Maybe it's the forbidden fruit. If you're always used to having perfection, you want junk food every now and then. No self-respecting Italian would do that. Croissant says, same. There are very few people who are described as snakes, but they're all at work. Mm-hmm. Yes. It's hard. And I did learn the hard way that you can't deal with them. You think you can. You think, I'm on the side of right. I will be on the side of righteousness and I will expose them to the light. No, it won't work. More often than not, people will side with the sociopath. They will side with the psychopath. Sometimes, if for no other reason, then they don't want to become the target of said psychopath. Zach says, lots of antisocial personality disorder too. Correct. That's what you'll see more often. Psychologists are now changing definitions, saying that it's, I guess, a personality disorder. They're not talking about it as a sociopathy. I don't give a crap what you label it. It is what it is. People like serial killers fall under psychopaths, but they're also on another level. Don't feel too comfortable thinking just because this person is not a serial killer that they are not a psychopath. They will harm you. Shieldwall Dragon says, my work experience was way more moderated with very strict rules, and there was a screening process they had to get through before they even got there. Also, there are very few females as well. That's a different dynamic. My experience working with females has been more queen bee syndrome. Mean girls. Girls don't like competition, so they will use very mean tactics. But the sociopaths I worked with were not girls. Okay, there was one, sorry. There was one was a woman, one was a guy. Well, no, now there's 3, there's 4. Yeah, there's, oh gosh, I worked with some really scary people over my career. And if you knew my career, you'd be very disturbed to know how many of these people are in this career. Most at the administrative level, some in the supervisory level. Chris Ann says, I see that occasionally, but people who are backstabbing don't last long in our department. Correct. Well, and that is determined by the kind of management and ownership you have. If it's good from the top, it'll be good from the bottom. If it's rotten at the top, it'll be rotten at the bottom. And unfortunately, there's more people that are rotten at the top than otherwise. And when I say the top, people will find their fiefdoms wherever they can. One of my favorite priest shrinks, may he rest in peace, Father Benedict Groeschel, he had a TV show. He would say that he has seen campaigns for who is the head usher at a church of parish with 100 people that have been more vicious than presidential candidates. And he's right. People's perception of power, even if it's as small as that, or who gets to run the cookie fundraiser, all the way up to who is going to be president of the United States. It's the same viciousness. I'm tiptoeing for a few seconds when I say I have seen this with the YouTube community, and I'm going to back away from that. That's as close as I'll get to controversial. Though, so help me, if I were to do one of those streams, I'm gonna expose everything. I would get like so many views. That's how you make money. Shieldwell Dragon says, I'm not saying that females are bad, but if you inject one or two females into a large group of men, it has a profound effect. It does. No. And I know what you mean. I will be the first person to say I hate working in a place with women. Despise it. We once got a new administrator, and when they were about ready to announce the person's name, I was like, please make it a man. Please make it a man. And it was a man. And I was like, yes. First, there are dynamics of women. And I didn't take offense at all. I know exactly what you mean. Men and women are different. I know it's not cool to say that, but it is true. We have different ways, we have different rules, we have all sorts of different things. Look at the phenomenon of the housewife. It's almost gone away, but the way it used to be, when there were like the separate spheres and women being queens of their household, it was a thing. And there was a reason for that. I think a good evolutionary reason. But it's like mom's in charge of the house. Not even dad had a say. And the kitchen was sacred. There's something very natural about that. When you see that shaken up, is at Thanksgiving dinner. This happens nowadays, of course. So it's still there. Where the mom who's cooking the Thanksgiving dinner is getting it all ready, and then the mother-in-law comes in, starts saying passive-aggressive things, and things get really, really tense. It's a dynamic. Shieldwell Dragon says, well, it gets worse when money is involved. Yes, and I think that's part of what I was referring. It is the motivating factor. Lady Turiel says, the power of control is a drug. People may not believe it, but that is true. Oh, gosh, yes, it's addictive. And the more you get, the more you need. Nothing can satisfy it. Shieldwell Dragon says, the work center I ran was going to get a female in. She would be the only female in the group of 20 men, most single and under 25. It was like, please don't be hot. Please don't be hot. Yes. And it can affect the men. It's biology. It is, there's no other way to put it. It can be distracting. It's been a very difficult tightrope that the workplace has been doing in the past 40 or so years when women started entering the workplace. Many things are good. Maybe things aren't so good. I don't know. Archer Colin is here. How is it? You are coming from the future. Please tell us how the future is. Archer Colin says that seems to be a common thing. Women preferring to work for male bosses. Not sure what that says about the feminazis. Well, it's Queen Bee syndrome. Maybe I'll do a stream about Queen Bee syndrome. Oh my goodness, I was about ready to say something. I'm going to get in trouble, so I'll be very cautious. Just look at scenarios where there will only be one woman. There's a reason for that. I'm not judging either. I'm saying it is biology. It is evolution. It is what kept us surviving when we were hanging out in caves. It's just the way it is. Crescent says, I've had some pretty bad female managers. When I finally quit a bad job, she blamed the doubled workload on me to the entire department on my last day. Of course she did. Yeah. And the reason why I like working for men, I'll just lay it out here. They don't tend to be very devious, they don't tend to be very backstabby. If they're gonna attack you, they will attack you from the front. Women will plot and plan and scheme and yick and yak and all of those things. Also, if you're not doing something that a man wants you to do, they'll tend to go, "Hey, Miss Martin, could you do that?" And I'll go, "Oh, sure." End of story. The female passive aggressive queen bee will say, she didn't do that. She didn't do that. The review comes around. It's like, well, let me show you what you've done wrong. You never did this. You never did that. You never did that. And you're like, oh, well, I thought I was doing what you wanted me to do, but they won't let you know. That's where I found the difference. Also in my own interpersonal relations. Sometimes people don't like people being direct. Give me direct every single time. And you can't get your fifis hurt. Sometimes people say things, especially on the internet, that sound harsh, but aren't really, but the written word doesn't convey it. And it's just very hard to communicate in writing, which is why whenever I would have a contentious situation, sometimes people are like, well, write an email. I learned, no, I'm not going to write an email. I'm going to write an email saying, could we meet at this time to talk about this? You got to do it face to face. But yeah, people need to suck it up. People need to suck it up too. Hello, anti-derivative Jill. Thank you. And thank you for sharing my streams. I do appreciate it. Archer Collins says, not sure if it's connected, but look at how many times you hear about male bosses who refuse to have closed door meetings, any meetings with a female employee. Yes, that's because of the Me Too stuff. I would, if I were a man, because all it takes is one sociopath or psychopath, and you're done. Absolutely done. This is even coming over in the church where there are priests that are requesting, could we please go back to the old-fashioned way where it was a box and a barrier, and there's just this little slide. They always show those in movies, but most churches do not have those anymore. They went through a phase like, no, meet them, you go face to face and talk and all that kind of stuff. But it also puts the priest alone in a room because of these accusations, and there have been a lot of false accusations. It's sad that the situation that led to that, but they're like, please, please don't make me be alone with anybody. But those kind of old-fashioned boxes are also strangely public as well, so everyone can kind of see what's going on inside the box, so they feel safer that way. Other places have tried to get around it by making the windows see-through, so you can see that the two people, but it's a little bit frosty, so you still keep your anonymity, but that's the way it is. There are some men that will act that way. Yeah, oh yeah, and there are. Yeah, and sadly, because of that, it's the case. Chris Ann says, "My mom actually warned me about female bosses when I started working." Yes, always be on your guard with female bosses. The thing about sociopaths, though, I'm saying that I think they tend to be sociopaths. If you learn how to deal with them, it actually will make it better. My last job situation, I learned how to play the game, and it was working out great. Then COVID happened. I was surviving, and speaking of surviving, for crap's sake, my cord isn't plugging in properly, but I still have plenty of power. I'll figure it out in time. Sadly, yes. Anti-derivative Jill says, "We're welcome. I love that you review books." Oh, thank you. Well, I love that you like that I review books. It gets people reading good stuff. If you just focus on the bad, you'll get too depressed. Shilwa Dragon says, Pick up the damn phone at the minimum, and you know it's going to be a great conversation when it starts out as Y in the F dash dash dash. Archer Collins. On the other hand, back when I was in the territorial army, for a while, I was the only one or one of the few males in a female dominated trade. Oh, yeah. The dynamics are there, though, regardless. I think that we need to do more training that would help, but it's so politically incorrect to do so. And now, with a lot of these trans situations, it's suddenly gotten a lot more complicated. Archer Khan, it used to be that a woman asked for a chaperone. These days, yeah. Well, and sadly, there have been reasons why. There have been situations where women have been raped, assaulted, date wait, date rape, drugs. The teens that I know, kids in the early 20s, both boys and girls, men and women, say the dating situation is hell now because it's not safe for a variety of reasons, and it's very difficult to meet good people. I tell folks, suck it up about the religion, but find yourself a religious congregation, go to one of their singles events, you'll find a good person. And they're not always all Bible thumping and everything, because there might be people like you too that aren't really into the religion, but maybe are into meeting good people. That's that's where most people I know have met their spouses, at or work or at geek events, because like minds, right? Very difficult and very unsafe time. Chrisant says, I'm convinced that most HR departments are sociopaths. A lot of power to one small department. Correct. Got to be careful. Isn't that terrible? You have to be so careful. I mean, I will also add that because of the situations, especially with educators, real situations, no one is ever alone under any circumstance with a student. It's not uncommon that you'll have a coworker. "Oh, I need to come in and use your computer." "Okay," if there's something that has to go on, a detention situation. If it is absolutely necessary that it be a one-on-one, then you leave the door wide open. It's a thing. Shieldwell Dragons. I had a boss when he talked would have very long pauses. I had to learn that wait till he was done talking before I responded. Once I learned that it changed the entire dynamic for the better. Yes. You got to get to know their quirks and things. Yeah. There's a good book I read called How to Manage Your Boss. I've studied a lot of psychology that's helped me a good deal. Helped me a good deal. Speaking of those pauses, that's where it can get tricky though on live streams, because pauses are invitations for other people to start speaking. So pauses are not good on live streams. I'll just throw that out. That when you pause, only pause when you're done talking. It's tricky. It's tricky. I learned how to master the 30-second comment from another situation that I won't talk about publicly, because for the most part, you can make your point in 30 seconds and then you stop and it allows other people to speak. Maybe a minute. What is it like? You shouldn't talk for more than a minute at a time unless it's an exceptional situation. One-on-one interviews, yeah, yap away. There's a lot more leeway, but that rule still stands. That rule still stands. Shieldwell Dragon says, "Really, when I was a kid, I was alone with teachers all the time. Different times, I guess." Yeah. Well, and understand that teachers are doing that for. Emma said, "We." Well, okay, we're doing that for our protection. It, it's just a fact. I paused. Oh gosh, this is when everyone's got to say something, but I'm on a solo stream, but no dead air. But I'm being very careful, especially teenagers are not above saying something if say they got a bad grade. If they got a bad grade, that means they're going to get grounded. They can't go to prom, or maybe they'll be off the team. I wish it wasn't so. I wish we had a better world, but that's the way it is. These methods also help. Maybe if you do have a real predator. So, hey, we can it makes it an unfriendly environment for a predator. Like if a predator is new to a school, "Yay, I'm a predator." And then they find out there's no way you can be alone ever because everyone's always open their doors, everyone's always coming in or getting the copy machine. If there's this culture of no one's ever alone, it's hard for a predator. So it works both ways. Hello. Tim Hannabaum says, "Hello, Miss Martin. Thought I'd listen in for a bit. So far, so good. Very interesting." Well, thank you. I do appreciate it. Gosh darn it. I love it when people pop in. Thank you so much. Shieldball Jagan says, "That's why I tend to talk faster than normal on live streams. Well, the whole like 4 I have been on." Really? You haven't been on a lot of live streams? Am I going crazy? I could have sworn I've seen you around. Okay. Yeah. Archer Collins says, "Yeah, these days the teachers are the ones likely to be concerned about being alone with student." Correct. Oh man, teachers have no protection. It's one of the reasons I'll lay it out. One of the reasons I quit. Several reasons I quit. That was one of them. I was sick of it. The fact that I have insurance. I still have the insurance because I still work. I won't go into details about how I work. I think I've gave it away once, conducting. Okay, fine. But I have insurance just for those situations, and every teacher needs to have insurance. If they don't, if you know someone that's a teacher that doesn't, oh my gosh, get it. Yeah, it's a bad situation. Zach, side note on dating. I think on some level, people have been so insulated from failure and disappointment that a percentage of men who claim to be afraid for Me Too reasons are just afraid. Yes, there's some of that. There is. And a well-mature person can know how to get around that. I've just heard some confessions from some of my clientele. The teenage boys, 16, 17, they're terrified to be alone with a girl on a date. I don't know one school that hasn't had a situation in the past year or 2 where someone has been falsely accused. Where they either were sexually active or they were heavy petting, then they broke up because that's what teenagers do, and then here comes I didn't give consent. Zach says, "With Me Too, you can be afraid and not responsible for that." Mhm. No, I hear you. I hear you. And that's what I'm saying is that a man can be a man also and find ways around it. For example, I've always said, go to church. If that's your jam, first of all, go. I cannot tell you how many dudes that have found their spouse after I've told them that. They're like, "I just can't find a good girl who's a Christian." And I went, "Well, what happens is like, well, every time I ask them out, they just laugh in my face." And I'm like, "What are you?" And then I turned out it was at clubs and stuff. It's like, well, if you want a good girl that's a Christian, why don't you go to church and ask out a girl? And then I like triple dog dared them. I said, just find one you like. There's plenty of them. There's always going to be more girls than guys. Pick one. Ask her for coffee after church, after mass. And then a few months later, "Oh my gosh, she's so perfect." I'm like, "Yes, that's how you find what you want." If you have another jam, or I was talking about nerd stuff, go play, I don't know, Magic the Gathering. All right, find creative ways where you'll first meet in public. and get that trust there too. And also that helps if a guy just in general is shy, right? Most girls will not say no or laugh in your face if you're with a group and you're playing cards, you're playing Dungeons and Dragons, whatever. Sometimes I like to go play board games. You can start up a conversation and then it can go from there. It's like, hey, you want to go get a coffee? Let's meet at the Starbucks. Speaking of Starbucks, there's ways to do it. Hello, Jacob Ironside. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the rose. Joel Dragon says the attitude of the kid, parents, and administration these days must make teaching a nightmare. I thought about doing it for about 10 seconds and came to my senses. Yeah. And it's not just that. I always tell people look up inclusion and what really happens with inclusion. You've got that thrown in with the normal attitudes and the physical dangers. What was it? My last year of teaching, I got hit 4 times. And the last time I said, I'm never getting hit again. I'm done getting hit. X says a church event idea is great. Yeah, there you go. You see, you see. I mean, especially if someone's religious. If you're a Jew, go to your synagogue. If you're a Muslim, go to the mosque. Though I think they're really good about that. They're a little more proactive, which is a good thing. If you want to get set up, you can go there. Churches used to be like that, but they're no fun. But it's perfect. Especially if you're a guy. You'll have like 1 guy and 15 girls. That's the ratio. It's a very good ratio. Well, Dragon says, got to stock fair, go to a stock fair or rodeo. You will find a nice God-fearing woman that can throw a ball of hay. Yeah, there you go. And in general, I just use that as an example. First of all, because I am a church-going gal, and I have seen it over and over. The bad news is if you are the church-going gal, maybe you won't get as many because the ratio is against you. But why not? But find your hobby, what you like to do. And try not to make it something that's only something girls do. I'll throw this out. I like to go crochet at a specialty yarn shop. I love it. It's fun, but guess who's in there? Women, a bunch of chicks, which is fine because I'm not going there to pick up someone, right? But if I'm thinking, I want to meet a guy, I don't go to the crochet yarn store, all right? Find your interest. And that's the other thing. If you have common interests, that's a great foundation. My sister and brother-in-law, they started dating in high school because my sister likes Star Wars. He likes Star Wars. Boom. They've been married for nearly 30 years. I'm saying obviously there was more than Star Wars involved, but it was a common interest. And of course, a guy that found a girl that liked Star Wars. Oh my gosh. It was like a girl likes it. Jacob Ironside says, there are no women in my church that are near my age that aren't married. Oh, okay. I was about to say, no women in your church. What? No. Yeah, that's tricky too, because the good ones get caught up fast, don't they? Yeah, they do. And especially, well, and a lot of the men that you'll find at church, they'll only start going after they get married. So, oops. I had the added fun, of course, that the really religious dudes, they often have a vocation. I know a lot of guys and cute ones. How many? 1, 2, 3 priests, 1 monk, 2 monks. And it's great. Go for it. It's a thing though. Sometimes there'd be some girls that are like, well, maybe he'll fall in love with me and he won't become a priest. I'm like, oh my gosh, don't do that. Don't do that. You're setting yourself up for heartbreak. And guess what? They got their hearts broken. But that's okay. I think well, that's a discussion for another time. Maybe I'll do that under Catholic explaining because we do have married priests. A lot of people don't know that, and it usually doesn't go well when the priests are married. I like to include my foot in the inclusion talks. Okay. And a derivative Jill says some libraries host nerd events trivia too. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Especially teenagers, because teenagers, young adults, and adults, it's different worlds. Great stuff. Great stuff for teens in those. And I don't know how many young folks have met through gaming. Gaming's a thing. I think you're 100% correct. Okay, you're correct. Shield Wall Dragons, you want to pick an activity where the ladies can see you chopping wood or something? Yes, yes. Oh my gosh. Listen to Shield Wall of Dragons. Yes. Like Habitat for Humanity. Like where you go and like build a house for someone. Or there was one I did where I found it very attractive. There was actually a convent, believe it or not. They needed some furniture moved, and we were helping them out, and the dudes were sitting there, "Oh, I'll do this," and they had the couch, and they lifted up the couch, and it's like, "Oh, yeah." Helping people move. Or it's better if you're a fireman. True story. I was at a young adult event in my younger days. It was, I don't know, some get together at the clubhouse, and we go out to get some fresh air, and right next to it was a fire station, and the firemen were getting out to get air, and we lost all the women were like, "Oh, hey, hi," and then invited them over and brought them some food, and one of my friends, a guy, was so mad. He's like, "What is wrong with you all?" And I'm like, "Sorry, you lose to a fireman." That's all there is to it. And the derivative Jill said, "I showed him Star Trek and he showed me Stargate." Yes, you see? It happened. My mom and dad were see, they like Star Trek. Similar ideas, similar events. Also, though, you gotta have some similar values. And I'm not necessarily saying that dogma has to match dogma. Just in general, like general responsibility, crying out loud. Archer Collins says that's another trope that seems prevalent these days. From what I see, women in particular saying they can't find men of the same age who are still outside of relationship. That's true. I'll just lay it out. It is. It's a thing. It's difficult. Well, let's just do some of the math. Usually, people start to hook up or get married or into their first marriage when they're about 23, 24. If you don't meet that special someone before you get out of college or before that age, yeah, you do miss the boat a bit. You do. Sheila Dragons, that's because they are only considering about 20% of the men out there. That's true. I will give a bit of a defense, though. I was looking for a family. I'm not going to seriously consider somebody who does not have the means to support a family, where I would have to be supporting him. Or someone that does not have good manly skills, leadership skills, that's gonna be a role model. Because especially when you're younger, you're looking for the father of your children. As you get older, things change. It's like, "Oh, okay, whatever." You don't care as much, but that is a nesting instinct of women. It's what's kept humanity going. Shieldwall Dragon says, "A nice looking uniform as a masculine job also helps to attract ladies." Yeah. Why do you think so many male strippers dress as firemen or cops? It's a thing. Gosh, I keep saying it's a thing because it is. Shieldwall Dragon. Oh, Archer is saying there's also that, especially if they have concentrated on having a lucrative career. The women or the men? Because there is a scenario of women having a career because they want to have a career, they want to be strong women, but also women that want to have a career because they didn't get married, and the way the world is right now, it's not even feasible to be a housewife. There's two sides to every coin. On the other hand, I always err on the side of quit whining and get what you want. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. Let me rephrase that. Get what you want without being creepy or fatal attraction. Be a grown up. The key to everything, though, is be happy with who you are as you are. And when I say that, I don't mean that doesn't mean you can't improve who you are. All of us can always improve. I keep telling people that's why I go to confession as much as I do. Okay. I need to improve. I do examination of conscience. I want to improve. How could I have done this better? How can I become a better person? How can I be a better person to the community? When I say the community, when I talk about the community, I'm talking about in my neighborhood. Okay. But you also have to be happy with yourself alone, because even when you're married, even if you're with the love of your life, there are times where you need to be content with being alone. Tim Hannenbaum says, I've given up on marriage and career, but the other day I had a burrito that was so good it made me want to live again. There you go. You see? And don't give up on marriage. You can get married till you die. The family and children, though, that's a hard one. When you realize that's not going to happen, that is very difficult. I will grant you that. Though it is easier for dudes because they do not have a biological clock. Joel Dragons, but a younger man has to grow into that person. It takes a man 10 plus years to be stable enough to have the resources to meet that standard. In the old days, you got married and did it together. Yes, but you know what also would happen in the old days? You would find a lot of young women marrying much older men. It was a thing. There were scenarios, I will give you that. There were scenarios where that would happen, where they would do it together, but more often than not, it was not uncommon to see 32-year-olds marrying 16-year-olds. Anecdotally, you look in those Jane Austen stories. They don't mention them in the movies, but in many cases, they're 17 Mr. Knightley was 17 years older than Emma. Mr. Darcy was like 10 years older than Elizabeth. Archer Collins says, the modern feminist movement seems to deliberately overwritten the fact that in general, men and women look for different things. Correct. And that's also hurt. Mm-hmm. Again, we all get to know each other. Zach says, all my friends who married their high school girlfriends are still married. Yes, there's a reason for that. Because I think that by the time you get old enough to marry, sorry, I'm shifting. By the time you get old enough to get married, you've known each other for a very long time. I would lay it out. You've known each other as friends. You've been in school together. You've gone to classes together. Maybe you've even broken up a few times. You've had your first, your second, your third, and maybe your 10th fight and learned to work through it. You've matured together. So by the time you're married, I'm looking at my parents. They started dating when they were 15. They met in marching band. They got married when they were 22. That was 7 years. 7 years of getting to know each other. My sister was 6 years before they got married. Archer Collins says, sadly, in historical eras, there were reasons for older men marrying a younger second wife. Yeah, women would die in childbirth all the time. Emphasis on second there. Correct. Those stepmothers, those wicked stepmothers, there were so many stepmothers for a reason. People also look for unrealistic things in people they want to marry. Yes, Jacob. Yeah. My only time that I'll put my foot down a bit when I will say that it is not unfair for a woman to want a financial stable person when they're looking for the father of their children. It's financial and psychological maturity are a thing. It's biology. Archer Khan, yes, that died in childbirth from illness. Yeah, childbed fever. And everyone died from illness. That's why they had so many children. My namesake, Saint Therese, her mother gave birth to 9 children, and 4 of them died before they were like 1 or died as infants. It was very common. It would be devastating for the women as well to continually have children that died. Okay. Badly managed expectations and part aspect, yeah. Well, this has been a good conversation, and welcome everyone coming in and coming out. I love what we're talking about. It's as you get older, you just get a bit of a different perspective, I think. And of course, there's the unrealistic expectation of how women should appear. I'm not gonna be one of those weird feminist type people, you know what I mean? The bad ones that say, "Oh, it shouldn't matter what you look like. Of course you should look good," and all that. I do believe though that imi unrealistic expectations, some of them have been a little bit groomed for that, especially through pornography. Yeah, Shieldwall Dragon says, "I'll admit there are a bunch of clowns running around out there that are not a catch." Correct. Yeah. Also, Archer Colin Wright, also for shallow reasons, yeah. "I've had this conversation a few times," says Archer Collins. "Average life expectancy is heavily weighted by death in childhood or childbirth, amongst other factors." Mhm. Yeah, yeah. It's a thing. It's a thing. I keep saying it's a thing because it is, and I've said that before too, and now you can tell why I'm an educator. I warn people. I try not to always be in it, but there's actually a method of doing that, and sometimes it's hard to get out of that habit, even uh, maybe outside of a pedagogical area. But maybe I am being a pedagogue right now, a teacher. So let's see. Okay, we've already said that. Well, let's go to my presentation here. Let's share the screen. Let's talk about sociopaths. This is how we got started on all this. But wait, why isn't it not sharing? Oh, I don't have the right button. Okay. Yay. Let's talk about those crazy sociopaths. Sheila Dragon says, "So you talk for a living?" Yes, I do. I also write. Mhm. I am a writer, and a performer. Let's talk okay, sociopaths. Oh, you know what? They don't, I didn't put up the actual definition. My gosh, what's wrong with me? I'll just look it up right now. Sociopath. What is a sociopath? Um, well, for crying out loud, just give me a definition. It says it requires a doctor's thing, medical stuff. All right, here is the definition of a sociopath: a person with a personality disorder manifesting itself in extreme antisocial attitudes and behavior and a lack of conscience. All right. Here's my first point. This is from an NBC, actually an NBC News website, but hey, they're good when they just stick with the facts. They know right from wrong, but they couldn't care less. Yeah. This one really struck me because I'm like, yes, that's it. Some of the other ones may not be able to associate right from wrong, or they think right is wrong. These people know. They know what's the right thing to do, but they don't care because that doesn't suit their ends, among other things. Where am I? Archer Collins says, "So I sometimes wonder what would have happened if I had followed my original thoughts and gone into primary education. I don't know because you're in Europe. Maybe it's different there. We've got some situations here in America." Archer Collins says, "I know that sociopath and psychopath are somewhat different, but often get conflated." Correct. And the reasons being they really are very, very similar. Yes, they are. Yeah. So if you ever try to appeal, for example, to a sociopath, it's like what you're doing is wrong. They don't care. They know it's wrong. You can't appeal to their conscience. They, I guess they say if it doesn't, they don't have one. A lack of conscience. Yeah, Yeah, I guess it depends on what your definition, how you're looking at conscience. I think they do. They know what right and wrong, but they're ignoring it. Let's see. So that is point number 1, which is why you don't waste your time with them. Couldn't care less. Number 2, their personality is crafted to engage and enchant in order to bond and manipulate. Mhm. They will be very charming people. They want to bond, get your trust, then they can manipulate you. They also depend on your goodwill. I, for example, will never do certain things. So they know that. Also, people of goodwill will sometimes have a hard time believing that someone could be this callous. This Oh, it's just yucky. It's like you almost wanna take a shower when you think of these people. These dupit dup dupi oh my gosh, I can't say it. Duplicity? Yeah, there we go. Personalities. Du duplicitous. Um, Legends of the Brave Bard, hello, says, "I feel personally attacked by the show's topic." Oops, well, we're outing you now. Shieldwell Dragon says, "So the sociopaths are the ones with the dark triad traits that women are attracted to." Can be. I've seen a lot of men attracted to it as well. That's where I was saying I was being very careful about mentioning another place you'll see a lot of this behavior. I'll look up dark triad. Well, everyone's attracted to charismatic, engaging, enchanting people. It's natural. What's not natural is using it as a means to an end. They want something from you, whether it's something you have or something that they want. All right, let's go on to the next one. They don't always seem genuinely honest. Yes, imagine that. Imagine that. And I like the way this is worded because they're not saying that they'll necessarily lie. They have a way of just twisting it just a tad where you can't quite prove it's a lie. But oh my, they're they're they know what they're doing. Gosh, it just hurts. Legends of the Brave Bard says, "Love you guys. Off, stay awesome off to the grocery shop. Just wanted to drop in and show a little support. Thank you. I do appreciate that." Shieldwell Dragon says, "But that attraction is how many women end up in bad relationships." Correct. They're attracted to the charm. Also, women that end up in bad relationships often don't have a firm foundation of their own to discern. See those red flags and be strong enough to walk away. Not judging here, I know how hard it is, but you have to. Distorting the truth, says Tommy. Yes, distorting it, and sometimes they'll glom onto one little aspect of what you're saying and veer off in that direction. That's why when you're talking with them, you have to stay on topic, no matter what. "But what about this?" "I'll get to that later. Let's talk about what I just said and only what I just said." It's a tactic. Shilwell Dragon says, "Because the guy is literally a sociopath." Yeah. Well, I watched a show on Investigation Discovery that it's called Evil Lives Here, about how women end up, well, it's a lot of things. It can be psychopaths, it can be serial killers, or women in those kind of relationships where they literally become prisoners. They always start off the same. They're usually younger women with older men or women that are vulnerable. They've been in a bad relationship. They have a bad family life, and they're so charming. They come off as a savior. I'm here to save you. I'm your prince. I'm your knight in shining armor. Jacob Ironside said, if you've dealt with someone that's a narcissist or a psychopath, you can spot them easier. Correct. And that's why I kind of like doing this. Let's do this. Let's talk about it because I want you to recognize them, or anyone listening on the replay. You got to see it, and you got to stay away from it. I have a 1000% zero tolerance on this kind of behavior. No second chances. No. Once it's done, it's done. When the pattern of behavior, what do I say? When it's lasted more than 3 times, and I'm talking about people that aren't necessarily close to me. Family members, it gets a little trickier. Coworkers, it's hard to get away from because they're at work. That's a different story. But people that you have casual interactions with, if you see it and you're like, this seems off, or this person made a mistake. Someone made a mistake. Okay, I can get that. But if it goes on for an extended period of time without any remorse or any signs of disengaging from this kind of manipulative behavior, then you've got to have a 0. No, nada, don't pass go. If you are in a workplace situation, as sad as it is, I just have to say you just got to leave. Unless you have the support of your boss, which you probably won't because these people are charming. And I have seen men and women bosses being fooled by these people. They're sociopaths. Oh, by the way, I put Sherlock there as a sociopath because on the modern TV show, he described himself as a high-functioning sociopath. And he was. He was a terrible person. Always seemed genuinely honest. They know how to get your blood boiling. Mm-hmm. That's another reason why you don't engage with them. They get your blood boiling so that they can gaslight you and they can go see this person's nuts. I just said one little thing or one little situation and the person blew up at me. Now, the one little thing may be something that was horrid or just terrible. But yeah, they know, they sit, they watch, they know which button of yours to push and they will push it. It's the hardest thing on the planet to do, to not get mad when they do that or not show any emotion. When I was dealing with a sociopath supervisor, he would always make me cry. Oh, it was so hard to not cry. I finally got to the point where I would not cry, but he did everything to make me cry. Really sick stuff. Archer Collins says, get it right. I'm not a psychopath. Yes. Love Sherlock. It was a great show. The first 3 episodes. The first season was good. Yes. Thank you, Archer Collins. Miss Mark Muses. Well, yeah, that's I'm tiptoeing because of that very nature. Manipulation and just don't interact. It's a no-win situation. Shield Wall of Dragons. Do you think a little of the traits represented here are present in everyone to some degree? I mean, you can be charming and not be a sociopath. Correct. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with being charming. You can be charming and be a jerk and not be a sociopath. Not everyone is everything. I remember a psychology student I knew who was all... Once you study it, you think the whole planet's full of psychopaths and sociopaths and narcissists. It's not the case. Most evil things are traits found in people, maybe even natural traits taken to an extreme degree. The way I draw the line is, are you hurting someone? That's probably the easiest way to do so. Jacob Ironside says, "My sister is a narcissist and she causes major risks in my family." Yeah, I've heard of that. The oh gosh, I'll throw it out there. Look at Meghan Markle. Classic situation. Classic. This Netflix thing that's going to come out is going to be even more interesting. If there's a common denominator in everything, it has been her with her own family too. And it does. It costs major risks. And it's hard because you can't get away. It's family, right? So Christmas comes along, Thanksgiving comes along. You have to be together. And then if you're the one that puts your foot down, you're the bad guy. Am I right? Archer Collin, Miss Martin muses, when he was surrounded by cops after shooting the blackmailer, yes. Oh, you mean when it was bad or when it was good? I think that it jumped the shark when he died and they didn't even explain how he lived. He came back to life and all that. It's just like, okay, it just went off the rails. And of course, everything they did with Watson, all that was ridiculous. Hello, Epex Comics. Thank you for being here. Good to see you. It never pays to be a sociopath. Well, guess what? I'm going to contradict you. It absolutely pays to be a sociopath. Absolutely. You will be incredibly successful monetarily if you are a sociopath. It's the sad, sorry state of the world. They are usually incredibly successful. Archer called. Look at Meghan Markle. Do I have to? No, you don't. Yep, you're right. Yeah, Jacob. Archer Collins said Sherlock saying he was a sociopath. People are saying, oh yeah, yeah. Technically, I guess he wasn't one if he knew he was. Right? Is that what you're saying? Showwell Dragons. I do know people can be trained to suppress or enhance some of those traits, like knowing a thing is wrong but doing it anyway, like spy training and killing as a soldier. Yes. And that's why genuinely good people have trouble, especially when they come home from war. They did terrible, terrible things. You see a very high rate of suicide, alcoholism, drug abuse because they want to forget. Because it's not natural to do that. Very, very good point. Which is why, oh my gosh, hats off to people in the military. And for crying out loud, my grandfather's generation where he was drafted to be in World War II, but he wanted to go anyways. Because different era after the bombing of Pearl Harbor, the things they saw, he still wouldn't really talk too much about it. Barely got him to ever say a few words about it, but it was just horrible. But they had to. And when he saw what he saw firsthand at Dachau, what the Nazis had done to the Jews, it was like, yeah, there was no question we had to do it. But oh my gosh. Archer Collins says, I was trying to remember which scene it was when he said that. I'm thinking about it might have been an earlier episode. Yes, maybe one of the establishing is. Shieldwell Dragon says, and the real problem is you often cannot undo that training. That's why they have so much trouble with relationships or with their marriages when they come back. Gosh, it's rough. I mean, I know that it's such a cliche to say we need more mental health resources, but we need more mental health resources because sending him home and going, okay, have fun. Glad you did all those things for your country, and probably we're going to mess it all up anyways, like what happened in Afghanistan, and hand it all back to the Taliban. But hey, live a happy life. It's like, no, no. That's why you also see so many homeless veterans. Everything just fell apart for them. And I don't blame the families. They don't know how to deal with it. It's so sad. Archer Collins says, yes, which is why body language reading and lie detectors can be fooled. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why they're not admissible. All these videos that are out there on YouTube about body language, these people study them. I study them, so that means they are too. Every time I'm going for an interview or an audition, I always study body language YouTube videos. Just watch them like you wouldn't believe it. Everything I'm doing with my body language, I go over it. I make sure I'm not doing the body language that would give a negative impression or that make them think that I'm indecisive, all of those kind of things. Let me see. Jacob Ironside says, I had a relative that was at Pearl Harbor. He wasn't in his ship when it got bombed because it was dry docked. Oh my. Well, thank goodness. Yeah. Also, survivor's guilt happens. Ryan Roger Athay. I'll call you the 2 R's. Not as cool as Triple M, or not as, maybe that didn't sound right. You know what I meant. Ryan Roger. Hey, folks. Hope all's well. All is well. We're talking about sociopaths. No one likes a sociopath. Or do they? Dun, dun, dun. Archer Khan says, indeed, look at how many soldiers were in prison, even executed for cowardice, quote unquote, during World War I, whereas now we would probably diagnose PTSD for many cases. Mm-hmm. They called it back then shell shock, or they would even have like real psychosomatic, like go blind, but there was nothing wrong with their eyes, but they literally couldn't see. It was almost as though their body was doing some weird protection. Gosh, those trenches were horrid. And the gas, I would saying, what up? Hello, R.R. Athay. Oh, yeah, like George R.R. Martin. R.R. Athay, I like it. Look, you've just gotten branded there, Ryan. Ryan Roger Athay says, personally, I am of the view that being in the armed forces is a job for life. That kind of environment is difficult to get out of to return to civilian life. Mm-hmm. I think I can see what you're saying. And most of these wars, that's exactly what it was, because people were drafted. And then once the war was over, they sent them home. I think we have more career armed forces here nowadays, but weird stuff's going on with the armed forces right now. So I don't know if anyone knows what's going on, let me know. Because you also have some of the social experiments that are going on that I'm not going to talk about, but we all see in their recruitment things. You had the problems with the forced vaccinations, stuff that we just didn't need to deal with at this time, in my humble opinion. Shield Wall of Dragons, they label them LFM, lacking moral fiber, and that stigma followed them their whole life like they were ex-prisoners. Gosh, yeah. Yes, those poor boys. I mean, the ones that actually lived. I mean, it was hard. You want to talk about people having trouble finding spouses? It was a real thing back in the late 1920s. There weren't men to marry because they were dead. A whole generation of 18-year-olds were all sent off and they died. Everyone's saying hello. Yay, we love people saying hello. We're happy people here at Miss Martin Muses. Archer Collins says to Ryan Roger Athay, I understand that these days the military do run some courses on how to assimilate back into civilian life. I would think it partly depends on how long the service was. Yeah. And if especially there is drug or alcohol issues, getting into AA or something similar is essential. They do really good work because you'll find a lot of veterans in AA for a reason. And they can help each other out, keep each other sober, help each other get back into basic life skills. Sorry, I messed that up. It was LMF. Oh, that's okay. Jacob Ironside says, in Vietnam, there were soldiers that were in combat one day and the next were walking around San Francisco. And everyone was treating them like garbage, spitting on them, calling them baby killers. My uncle experienced that. Oh, people are saying, well, being happy. Yay, we're happy. All right, let's see. So they know how to get your blood boiling. So don't let them. Don't give them the reaction they want. 5, their worst tendencies quickly surface when they feel they're losing control over you. That happened with me. The more I was not so much standing up to the person, but just not letting it get to me. I'd already made the decision I was going to leave anyways. They get worse. Yeah. It's like they're desperate or something. Is that called narcissistic injury? I that might be a little bit different. Yeah. They will have no mercy. And they'll usually slip up. They'll get themselves in trouble. Oh, so I'm so sorry. I tried to mute myself, but I didn't get to it in time. Okay, you get everything the way it is here at Miss Martin Muses. I was on the other screen, so I wasn't able to mute myself. This is starting to find, Archer Collins says this is starting to sound rather like a lot of Hollywood celebs. Oh, yeah. It's, you can't be good at being a Hollywood celeb if you don't have some of these characteristics, especially the narcissist ones, because by its very nature, it's narcissism. But yeah, just look at the way they lash out like they're friggin' like they're the devil that just got sprayed with holy water. Yeah. And in an interesting way, the best way to deal with a sociopath is to not let them have control over you. I had a situation, this was also the job situation. This person was really trying to control everything I was doing. Long story short, I finally just started saying, yes, sir. Anything he wanted me to do, I just decided to say yes. Sure, no problem. And it frustrated the blah out of this man. And yeah, he started getting mad. He started getting meaner. Nothing ticks off a narcissist or a sociopath than showing that they can't control your emotions. Like, nope, you're not even worth getting angry at. Shieldwell Dragon says, yes, often what makes a person a good actor are the traits of a sociopath. Yeah. And there's so much overlap between all of these. I did see a good comparison between psychopaths and sociopaths. Where it gets into psychopath, you're dealing with a person literally causing you physical harm, like trying to kill you or succeeding in killing you. Jacob Ironside says, probably another good way to find someone to date is to throw holy water on them and see what happens. Wow. You heard it here first, people. Breaking news at Miss Martin Muses, though I do not necessarily recommend it because you might get punched in the face. It's like, what the hell, man? Oh my gosh. Archer Collins says high level narcissism as well. Talking to Shield Wall dragons. Archer Collins, yeah, yeah. They're mostly they're narcissist. Definitely, Meghan Markle is a narcissist. Maybe a sociopath. I always watch reruns of Deal or No Deal with my parents because it comes on the Game Show Network at noon. Every time it's Meghan Markle, we all go boo, boo. It's ridiculous, but it makes us feel so good. Shield Wall Dragon says, when I have to deal with stuff like that, I would tell them, yeah, sure. And then do whatever I was doing in the first place if I could get away with it. Yeah, that's another way of dealing with it. Yeah. Because they carefully look at what pushes your buttons. You've got to not let it show. Because you won't win if you try to call them out, if you try to explain to them, you won't. And if they are already in a position of power and the people already know about it and they don't care, that's it. Or if they're charmed horrendously, or if they don't care because what they're getting from the sociopath is more important to them. Money, success, growth. That's why they won't care when it's like, hey, this is what's going on. It's like, I don't care. The person's done well in this department. It's like, okay. You'll see that more often than not. Shield Dragon says Meghan Markle makes Wallace Simpson look like a saint. Yes. Yeah. I need to go back and revisit Wallace Simpson because I don't think she was trying to get him away from the crown, or was she? I don't know. Where Meghan Markle lost me was after this all happened, after they left, because stuff that goes on inside families, that's what goes on inside families. They came and they were like, we're going to quit being working royals. We're doing this for the protection of our family. We're going to go move to Canada. If that was the end of it, I don't think anyone would care. And I don't blame Harry for this either. But that wasn't. They've constantly been airing the dirty laundry, most of which has kind of turned out to not be true or definitely implausible. And then to try to keep saying that they're the victims. Victims don't act like that. True victims. Shieldwall Dragon says, no, she desperately wanted to be queen. Her biggest problem was she was a double divorcee. Oh, okay. Yeah, I need to go back and study that a bit more. Well, then she was dumb. I mean, it was the 1930s. Camilla being queen is controversial. People are accepting it, if I understand correctly. If you're British, tell me otherwise. But the queen only gave in on that, last summer? At the occasion of her jubilee? It's America's Ass. JT Gunn, Late Night with Cap. Happy Monday. Happy Monday. We're talking about sociopaths. What could be happier than that? Jacob Ironside says, hey, JT. Well, hello there. Good to see you all. Good to see you. Yeah, but do you see their worst tendencies quickly surface when they feel like they're losing control over you? Yeah. And that means where you just need to keep doing what you're doing because it's working. And when I say what's working, you're not going to change the sociopath. You're not going to change how other people are going to react to the sociopath. But what you are doing is protecting yourself. That's the most important. Archer Collins says that's one reason why Camilla will be known as Queen Consort rather than just Queen. Yeah. Though technically they're all Queen Consorts. They all have been. But yes, I even noticed they keep going, Queen Consort, Queen Consort. And it's like, I know what you're doing there. With Princess Diana, it wasn't all Queen Consort. You're going to be Queen Consort. If William and Kate stick together, I think that will be very stabilizing. The whole situation was unfortunate. Just a mess. I think that's why we saw with William, he even said it, I think, in that interview when they got engaged, how much they really talked about it, tested it, went over it. Like, is this what we want? Is this gonna work? They even broke up a few times. I know at least once. Essentially, they'd been together 10 years before they got married. Oh, people are saying hi to each other? Yay. All right, let's see what else a sociopath's gonna do. I've only this is a 6-slide presentation, so this is the last one. Of course, there will always be more. Boom. They display false humility. Mhm. Isn't that right? Think of all the sociopaths in your life, don't name them. Um, do they display false humility? Yes, they do. And it's so contradictory because usually as they're displaying the false humility, they're showing the amount of pride that they have. It's a paradox. I think of the parable of the Pharisee. Was it? Oh my gosh, I'm gonna sound like a bad Catholic here. I forget what the name of the parable is, but there's the Pharisee guy who's up there going to the front of the synagogue, like, "Oh, thank you, God, I'm so good, and I doing this, and I'm doing that, and I fast, and I love you, and I show everyone, my love for you, and I'm so great." And then there's a dude in the back saying, "God, have mercy on me, a sinner." Humility is not something you can see. You don't have to say you're humble. Don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. If people see your humility, then you're probably not humble. It's a paradox. Let me go back here. Like a humble brag. Yeah. It's not humility. Archer Klon says, at the risk of supporting the patriarchy, usually a king's wife is a queen, but as king may be seen as a higher rank, a queen's husband is known as prince consort, I think. Yes, that is correct. Yeah, men will never, well, I shouldn't say never, maybe it'll change. That's why Prince Philip was not the king consort. Precisely. He wasn't even a prince for a while. He was just a duke, and then she did it 10 years into their marriage. Same thing with Prince Albert. Other way around would have been the queen. You are correct. And it's okay supporting the patriarchy. Think of it this way. Nothing wrong with patriarchy. Nothing wrong with matriarchy. It's all good. It has all been twisted, though. Oh, I already got that, like a humble brag. Shieldwell Dragon says, sociopaths will never do anything without a reward for doing it. Follow the money. Follow the power. I was fooled the first time. I wasn't fooled the second time. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. The hardest thing, though, is that you just have to walk away. There's no cure. There's no cure. You're not going to change them. They're not going to change. People are not going to change their relationship to this person. People know. That's the other thing I try to warn everybody. Does anyone listen? No. Everybody knows what you know. And they don't care because what they're getting from the sociopath is greater than doing the right thing. Archer Collins says, really? I didn't know that. Thanks. Oh, why? You're very welcome. Yay, I earned my degree. I also am an enthusiast of it all. What can I say? I've been fascinated my whole life. It's better than a soap opera. Tommy and the Guinea Pig Collective, or they get Do it for an ego boost, false virtue. That too. Yeah. There's always an ulterior motive. Sociopaths and ego go along. Well, actually, it's all three of them. So sociopaths, narcissists, psychopaths all have a huge ego. And just in case anyone's getting paranoid, I'm actually thinking of a job I had. Okay. Those are my examples. Any similarity is purely a coincidence. Melvin Deeply, why hello there. I believe Philip was a prince of both Greek and Denmark. We used to call him Phil the Greek. Correct, he was, and he had to renounce those to marry the queen. He gave up a lot to marry Elizabeth. He gave up his religion too. He was a Greek Orthodox. Well, not completely his religion. He stayed a Christian, but he was an Orthodox. Phil the Greek. Yeah, he was hot too when he was young. Everyone's saying hello, hello. Welcome to Miss Martin Muses. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Everyone loves talking about sociopaths because they're so sociopathic. Sociopathic? Oh, well. Let's see. Oh, everyone's saying good evening. So you are from the future. Yes, tell me how the future is, please. Have we blown up the world yet? Tell me the results of the match. Let me see. What can be tough, says Shield Wall of Dragons, is when someone sees you in a way that you really are not. Okay. But the way they see you is actually better than how you really are, like thinking you're smarter than you actually are. That's true as well. And that's on them. Usually it's projection, isn't it? That's not victim blaming, but it is. It's 8 p.m. where I am. Okay. All right. I know that time zone. Well, cool. Are you into the World Cup, into football? Let me know. Yeah, the match this morning, it ended on penalties. It's always so intense when that happens. You just feel the tension, and the poor little boy has got to do the kicking, and you hear the whistle, and yeah, everyone goes nuts. Okay, so those are my 6 points of sociopaths that I found. You can find more, I'm sure. But this, as a coda, how do you deal with a sociopath? I found this advice good because what's the point of being able to recognize them if you don't know what to do? Archer says there's football being committed. Yes. Actually, I need to look at the score right now. I've been missing the match because of this. But that's okay because I didn't care too much about this match. The one's tomorrow I do. What's advice from the shrinks online? Avoid disagreeing with them publicly. This may lead to humiliation and any word or action that causes them to feel shamed cuts very deep and can trigger severe reactions. And this is where you've kind of realized there's something really wrong with this person. This is an overreaction. This person is going way beyond what is reasonable. And it is. It's good. You just got to suck up your humility, or suck it up, rather. Suck up your pride, rather. Don't do it. It's a waste of time. Think about every time that you've confronted a sociopath. Has it ever turned out good for you? There's a reason. So just avoid it. Doesn't make you a wuss or anything like that. Sometimes you got to walk away. Melvin Deeple says, nah, football doesn't interest me. How dare you, sir? How dare you? Nah, it's okay. You can all, to each their own, but how dare you? Shield Wall of Dragons says, yes, if you piss them off, they will hold a grudge forever. Yes. And they will hold one in a disproportionate manner. That's what makes them dangerous. I get ticked off at someone. I'm like, man, this person ticks me off. I'm going to stay away from them. And I do. they sit and they plot and they do all sorts of weird stuff. Like they just go far beyond what the grievance is calling for. And the grievance is usually something very petty. Like, for example, this supervisor I had. Dude, you're the supervisor. I'm not coming for your job. I don't want your job. You don't need to be behaving like this. I think they just get a kick out of it. And maybe they're compensating for something inadequate in their lives that they feel is inadequate. Sociopaths are weirdos too because they also have perceived grievances. So you don't even know what it is that will trigger them. It could be something even inside their head. Shield Wall Dragon says, "Yep, that's why I always locked my locker, desk, and computer." Yeah. Jacob Ironside says, "You have this thought when dealing with a narcissist. If I can just get other people to see them for what they are, but it just backfires on you." Yes, 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 yes. And that's all I'm going to say about that. And all God's people said amen. Though they technically should say amen. That's more appropriate, in my opinion. Tommy says, "Sometimes you can't ignore a walkway. Some keep yipping till you shut them down." Maybe. I've not seen it. It never works out. You shut them down. You don't shut them down. They just come back. They just keep doing what they're doing and no one cares. The person I have in mind, he's doing great. Climb that ladder. Yeah, no one cares. And they don't care. You're the bad guy. Always. Always. Nick McCabe is here from Down Under. You talk about being from the future. Whoa. Whoa. Nick McCabe says, "Hey there, everyone. Good to see you all. Good to see you. Thank you." Shield Wall Dragon said, "I thought it was a woman and not all men." Oh, gosh. That was so ignorant. So ignorant. The word comes from Hebrew. If I'm wrong about the language, forgive me. I know that they spoke Aramaic and all sorts of other things, but it has nothing to do with men, for crying out loud. So ignorant these people are. Everyone's saying hello. Melvin deeply says, "I once had a supervisor who used to threaten you if you didn't do overtime, but he'd start the threats before he'd even asked if you would do it. People are strange." Yeah. That's going almost into the psychopathic. Nah, maybe that's too strong because that's harm. That's something that's actually going to affect you. Yeah. They're strange. Well, they're not strange. They're sociopaths. Everyone's saying hello. Archercon says, "Shieldwall Dragons, how does a nymphomaniac finish her prayers?" I don't know. Shieldwall Dragon says, "Well, they better not ever find out where the word testify comes from then." Oh my. Jacob Ironside says, "When you're strange, people remember your name." Yep. Okay, they're saying a joke. I don't know if it's going to be severely inappropriate, but oh well. So say we all is another one. I like to use that from Battlestar Galactica. I've just never seen a situation where it works out. You will be the bad person. You will look bad. Because they're skilled. And they have something someone wants. Oh, here we go. Speaking of which, don't call them out for being a sociopath. Slowly work to disengage yourself from the relationship. That's what I've been saying. And do it slowly. This might sound chicken, but bring on the wings, the breast, and the sides. I don't care if it makes me a chicken. I don't mess with a sociopath. It's not worth it. It's so hard though. You so much want to just show them up for who they are, what they did. I still fantasize about that with this situation I'm thinking of. But to what end? To what end? You lose. You always lose. If anyone can tell me a situation where they've won in this kind of a situation, I would really love to hear it. Don't call them out for being a sociopath. The only thing you do is slowly work to disengage yourself from the relationship. You don't owe a sociopath anything. And as you slowly disengage, then they will get bored because they're not getting reaction out of you anymore. I mean, the best power I ever took from this jerk was, well, I'm just not going to, just not going to be coming back next year. Well, I'm going to let my contract run out. Then what could he do? Nothing. Archer Collins says it's this kind of linguistic ignorance that led to her story. Oh, gosh, yes. I like that. Linguistic ignorance. Isn't that the story of our lives? No one knows how to talk anymore. Amen. I'll see myself out. Shield Wall of Dragons. That was a powerful scene in that show. So say we all. Archer Khan says chicken has to be served with stuffing. Oh, stuffing. Well, everyone loves stuffing. Look who's here. It's Biggles. It is Biggles Metz. He says, I don't think I'm a sociopath, only part narcissist. You're a narcissist? How dare you? No, I know what you meant, narcissist. But I missed the definition. The definition is you, Biggles. It's you. Shieldwell Dragon says he could get bent. That's what. Yes. Well, sociopaths have several qualities. Batshit crazy is probably one of them. Ryan Roger Arthe says, gotta go now. Have a great day, all. Well, thank you. Thank you for popping in. And I hope all is well in the future over there. Biggles Met says, oh no, I am a definition. Wow, great. Great to see you all. Thank you for coming in. And everyone that will be coming in on the replay. Shieldwall Dragon said, oh, later man, yes. All right, and I think I have one more piece of advice. No, I don't. The next piece of advice is look at this lovely map from the world of Shannara by Terry Brooks. That was it. Not an exhaustive list, but I do enjoy these. I think they're great conversation starters, and I think they can be educational. I've just reached the life is too short stage of my life. The social anthropologist in me is fascinated as I watch a lot of these interactions, especially online interactions. Of course, you also don't know when people are just playing a role. Or even pretending like fake arguments, and I'll be careful about more I say about that. But if there's any advice your Aunt Teresa can give you, I'm going to sneeze, and this time I am going to mute. It's look out for yourself. Look out for yourself and those you love. Everything else doesn't matter. Unless you're in a situation where your life is being threatened or your livelihood, in that case, you go to the authorities. Period. And if you don't go to the authorities, then I don't feel sorry for you. By the way, what subject did you teach? I kind of try to keep it a bit ambiguous. I'll say I'm a musician. Haha. Bigglesmet says pretending to be bad is hilarious to me. I only get mad at Snow White. Yes, that is something worth getting mad at. F that hoe. Yeah. Let me clarify for people listening. He's talking about Snow White from the TV show Once Upon a Time. I'm sure that you don't have anything against the original Snow White. She did not hurt you. She did not hurt you the way Snow did. Oh, so the tuba got it. No. Not that I have anything against the tuba. But no. Tubby the Tuba. That's a cute old cartoon. Everyone loves Tubby the Tuba. I've taught a lot of things over the years. I've done lectures too. I've written. But I do have a history degree as well as all my other degrees because I spent half my life at college because I could. I got bored. I would like to do more of that. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll do some of that on my YouTube channel. There's always a lot of obscure little facts and things that are interesting. I'm enjoying the fictional history in the Fire and Blood book. I think that's kind of fascinating. House of the Dragons revised an interest in the world that George R. R. Martin created. It's not going to save anything because all roads lead to Game of Thrones as far as a TV show is concerned, but the Fire and Blood is an interesting study. Tommy says, my happy state was being intruded upon. No one attempts to ruin my Toys R Us kids' attitude. Damn right. Yeah. F that. Here's also one of my goals. This comes from the spiritual exercises of St. Ignatius of Loyola for discerning the spirits. If it's something that disturbs your peace, it's not worth it. Let it go. The exception being, of course, if someone's like coming at you with a knife and you have to defend yourself, but those situations are very rare. Sheenwall Dragon says, his world is okay, but I just wish the dragons were smarter and could talk and stuff like Smaug or D&D. Yeah. Wouldn't they have a tale to tell? Yeah, I love D&D and I love Smaug. The real D&D, not the woke one, not the 5th edition. That for some reason no one cares it's woke. Let's see. People I know play 2nd edition and 3.5. The 3.5 is the one that I have played a little bit. I'm pretty new to D&D. But it's a good way to get creative. I am liking the D&D books. I am reading the Dragonlance books as well as the Forgotten Realms, the ones by R.A. Salvatore. Very good. Very good. And there's like 50 million thousand of them, so I can read them for the rest of my life. The best dragons come from Pern, says Archer Collin. Shieldwell Dragons 3.5 is the best. It's a very good system. Well, there you go. Well done. Yeah. That's the one I played. I couldn't, with authority, talk about the 2nd edition as compared to the 3.5 edition. The 2nd edition is what a lot of the folks played in the 80s. I know a group that has the same D&D group from when they were 10, teenagers playing, and they still use that edition. Let's see. Biggle says Goblin Slayer, the role-playing game, has a really fun system too. Okay, I'm not familiar with that. Archer Khan says I'm going to be playing Castles and Crusade shortly. Cool. Yeah, I really believe in playing these games, and as much as you can, try to play them with real humans. Go to either a fantasy store where they have games set up, or in your house as much as you can. You need to have human interaction. Shieldwall Dragon says the Warhammer fantasy setting is my favorite setting. Okay. I'm not familiar with it. I'll lay it out. I am pretty much a normie, but learning. Archer Collins says, I think 3.5 is what most modern D&D games. Yeah, but they went off the rails with the 5th edition. I'm a studier of these things more than an understander, if that makes sense. Like, I can see the trends because the way that the woke, and I'm starting to hate that word more than I think about it, but for lack of a better word, the way that woke has been infiltrating all of our entertainments, that's also happened with Dungeons and Dragons. That's where I see it. So that's what I mean by I see it as a study, but I have not played a lot of these older games. Shieldwall Dragon says, "Here is a question: where the hell were all the women laying D&D stuff playing D&D and stuff when I was younger?" Well, I'm sorry. I don't know. I wasn't playing D&D. I was into Star Wars and other sci-fi and geek things, but I don't know. I think it was a guy thing. My personal opinion is our parents' generation were a lot of those fantasy geeks. They grew up watching Flash Gordon and 60s Star Trek. They passed on the geekness to us eventually, and then we had to get grown up and interact. But girls definitely came into their own in the 2000s, maybe a bit later, for good or for ill. It's great to have women, but women also in many ways ruined it. Playing, I meant D&D. Yes. Where were they laying? Arch Collins said, "Sorry, I missed the word computer there." Oh, playing it on the computer. Well, I do play it on the computer. I was gonna say sometimes you have to. It's not a secret that I play with Stieg and Mara and Laura. We're all in different states and different countries. Sometimes you have to do that. We played with Nina for a long time. She's down in Mexico. Biggles Met says, yeah, 40K setting is great. Keely Chow is here. Hey, everyone. Why, hello. We just got done talking about psychopaths or sociopaths. Stay away from them. Yes, stay away from them. You will never win. I'm going to lay out for you the question. If you think you can win, tell me when you have. I haven't seen it. You will not win by interacting, confronting, or anything with a sociopath. Definitely not a psychopath. Melvin Deeply says, have you read the Harry Dresden book by Jim Butcher about a modern-day wizard in Chicago? I really enjoyed them. I am not familiar with that. Maybe I'll look into that, Google into that. Yeah, I'm really busy right now with what I'm reading. I'm reading several of these books. I have a 40-book goal that I need to meet by the end of the month. Jacob Ironside said, in regards to what we've been talking about, look up Dr. Robert Sapolsky. He did a study on a baboon troop showing how hierarchy creates a destructive force within the human psyche. Here we are. Shieldwell Dragon says, I think having women in gaming is good so long as they don't want to change everything and stuff. Precisely. If we want to have Barbies, we'll go play Barbies. People are saying hi. I'll start that to clarify. 3. Biggles says, Biggles always wins no matter the path. See, there you go. He said so himself. Our very definition of a sociopath. Archer Collins says, sorry, 3.5 is the basis for most computer D&D games such as Baldur's Gate. Oh, okay. This is where I probably need Stieg to help me out because he played a lot of those in the 90s. That's how he knows English so well. Darn it. The only time I've doubted my faith has been when I consider he can speak that well in his second language. Okay, they're talking to each other about things and they're saying hi, the TV series. I thought 4 was for the computer games. I don't think so. Not that I know. Not that I know. Well, what I do know is a cup of coffee is long gone, and I'm probably gonna miss the end of the match. Unless it goes to overtime, that'd be great. Yeah, I need to go over to my family and help out a little bit. Maybe go to Walmart because Walmart's fun. You can get cheese there. Goat cheese. Oh my gosh, I got so much good goat cheese yesterday. Chillwell Dragon says almost all Scandinavians can speak English at a very high level. Correct. Yeah, it it's amazing. I think out of necessity for various reasons, commerce, tourism, a lot of their entertainment will not be translated into Norwegian. For example, some of these video games, you didn't, and if you had to type in, you had to learn really fast. I say that if you want to teach kids a foreign language at school, just give them computer games in the language. Don't let them do it in their native language. Like German class, it's just playing games in German. I swear people will get fluent quick. They'll learn a lot more than stupid, let's memorize the conjugation and pretend we're ordering in a restaurant. You know how you order in a restaurant? You get over to the country and you order in the language and you figure it out within 3 seconds. You don't need to practice it in some classroom. All right. Shieldwall Dragon says, I need to put air in my tires after this. Oh, you see, that is a manly job. That is manly. I once had a gentleman when we were kind of getting together and I needed my tires filled. And he's like, oh, well, let me do it. So I drove to the gas station and he filled the air in my tires. And I thought that was so sexy. So there you go. That and opening jars. We like that. They said it was made only used for the games. Okay. There's a lot. There is at least one Norwegian YouTuber I didn't even realize until he said it. Yeah. Oh, I used to think Stig was a Brit. Shieldwell Dragons. It is a quality and high level of education as well. Yes. Especially, well, when I was in Iceland, they only have tourism. I've never seen English spoken so well as when I visited there. That's the only Scandinavian country I've actually visited. Biggles says, I played a game in Japanese the other day. I had to use a translator to tell me what it meant. Well, you got to do what you got to do. When I was in France, I speak French very poorly. I could, for the most part, get along, but we had a situation where we were at a pharmacy and we needed to find a certain kind of medicine. So me and the lady were communicating through Google Translate. It worked. We just held up each other's phones to each other. Melvin deeply said, the Danes I met tend to speak English better than most of the English people. Correct. We are talking about a car, right? Yes, we are. I'm a good girl. Yes. It was a car. Archer says, sorry, he said he was Norwegian. Damn, I can't type really. That's okay. I know how to open jars. There you go. Biggles, good for you. Yeah. Gosh, I want to go back. I will. I want to see the Northern Lights. And I'm not going to go to like Canada to see it. Nothing against Canadians, but if I'm going to see the Northern Lights, I'm going to see them in Scandinavia the way it was meant to be. The way my ancestors were. That's where my people come from. Shieldwell Dragon says, Iceland was a blast. The only place I've ever been where everyone looked like me. Yes, me too, because I'm pasty white. Oh gosh, Iceland. Let's all have a field trip. Go to Iceland. It's very cheap to go over there. It can be expensive once you're there, but they like to get these Americans over. Blue Lagoon is one of my favorite places. I've been to Iceland twice, and I always go to Blue Lagoon. Maybe I should post some pictures. Maybe I'll do that. I'll do a stream of let's look at Teresa's pictures from her vacations out there, and I got a massage, and you're just there in a spa. It's just so nice, and I saw the midnight sun. Shieldwall Dragon says, how I got out of Iceland without being married is a wonder. Oh, okay. I thought he said while being married. Oh my gosh. The same is true of people from parts of Africa and India, or at least used to be Melbourne. Yeah. Yeah. Or they speak French. Blue Lagoon smells well, it smells of the minerals. It's so good for your skin. I'll tell you, it's so good for your skin. I still have the skin care product shipped over here, but I swear I was dunking myself in that water, like Jesus in the Jordan for 2 days, and my skin was so soft. But the bikinis tend to make up for the smell, I suppose. Archicon says, "I could make a joke about buying frozen food from Iceland." Ha, ha, ha. Mhm. Oh, but they're fish. Holy crud. They're fish to die for because it's all fresh. Yeah, fish and tourism is their big moneymaker. Let me see. One, big old wait a second. Places outside of America are not just made up places. Are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. I've been there. You need to travel more. The real tour I would like to make, maybe it'd be fun if we all meet in Dublin and then go check out Ireland. I can be a little unofficial tour guide. Shield Wall Dragons. Everyone had flawless skin over there, and I didn't see a single ugly person either. They have no idea what a line is. You see, because they sit around and they soak themselves in that volcanic mud. Blue Lagoon, I'm thinking Young Brook Shields. Yeah, I know. It's unfortunate because it's blue. But yeah, it's just got this volcanic mud and it's in the water and you just slather it on you. It's amazing. Luxurious. I use their shampoo. I use their shower gel. I use their cream. I use their masks. You can get algae. They got algae. Why would I ever want to leave America? Well, that's why I almost said something mean. I was going to say you suck. You don't suck. You just need to be educated. You need to be educated. I thought it was in places in America that were made up. Yes. All right, I'm gonna really wrap this up because I do need to go. It was great seeing you all. You all are amazing. Really, really good conversations. Always good to see you all in here and see you around on the streams. I'm lurking around. I'm gonna be doing some musings, probably dropping a few videos. The musings happen when I have time. I can't schedule them. It's just not possible, but I can schedule videos. The only video that is scheduled is my Elsa Shanara on Saturdays, but it's not this Saturday because Rennie is getting married. She has an excuse. She's getting married, so we're gonna be off this week, and then we will be back the following. Anything else? Well, you'll see me on Nina's Sunday night hang sometimes. What I was on Inside the Booth that Zach's had me on last week. That was loads of fun. And have a good day, everyone. Now you're the only real place. Good day and God bless. Hello, the R. Thank you very much, and have a blessed Advent. I love it. We're in Advent. Maybe I should bring up my Catholics Waiting Advent. Why Advent is so much fun. All the cool kids are doing it. Everyone's saying later. Thank you. Like I said, I think did I say the names? I said Jacob. We have Melvin. We had Biggles. We had Shield Wall of Dragons, Archer Colin. And Zach's was here. We had Jill, Antiderivative Jill. Loads of people. If I'm missing anyone, it is not intentional. Keely Chow. Thank you for being here. Have a great day, everyone. Have a great day. And be certain to, Tommy was here. Be certain to not confront a sociopath.